one of the big things that's going on in college education is the big changes that's being made to the curriculum to say that everything should be more diverse and not so inclusive about certain things. I know I was talking to you about earlier about how the community college systems in California are starting to do this big generalized plan called guided pathways, where instead of having students have the freedom of choosing all of their electives like it has been for the past 200 years, they're going back to what it was before. I believe the year was 1876 when a professor on the East Coast decided to introduce these elective systems, because before that, the whole college system was based off this guided pathways model, which was that you and me, being college students right now, would have the freedom to go and say, I want to take like anthropology or this class for this semester, but it might not have to do with our major. We might just want to do it just for fun. But guided pathways is now going to go in the next couple of years. I think they have around 5 years to do it and to implement it, and to say that counselors are now going to have the opportunity to choose all of the classes based on your major. What do you think about that change?
I I see the pros and cons of it. I do, but I tend to just focus more on the cons. Some of that is because, as you know, I'm just pretty anti-education. Not anti-education because I love learning, but anti our current education system. And I worry that something like this would just be more evidence of a system that's built more toward a business model than an education model. My fear with a guided pathway system is without me having the choice and freedom to pick classes that fit my needs at certain times, that the system gets geared in a way that doesn't benefit students anymore. It benefits professors, it benefits universities. My fear is that you increase fail rates of classes for students because if I know that a particular semester that I'm just going to be busier than other times, I might choose to take maybe an easier elective. But with the guided pathway system, I no longer have that choice, so whatever's next is next. And it puts a lot more burden on my life, and especially as we get into a society where we have more adult learners than ever with kids and families trying to balance things at community colleges. I just don't like them not having the freedoms to choose how they go. But I do see the pros. I'm very fearful of the education system, mostly because of money.
I think the big thing that I've talked to counselors in the college systems about recently is I don't think that counselors are well equipped enough to deal with the workload that's going to be coming. So, as you know, at VBC here at the community college, it's like I think we have like 5 or 6 counselors for 12,000 students, and that's about 2,000 a person, and that just doesn't seem. I don't know about you, but even if I had a PhD in counseling, I don't think can be able to take around 2,000 students and their workloads. And I know one of the counselors was saying that his big pro for it was that a lot of students now are taking 5 years to finish a 2-year degree program, which is not good, but because they're like you said, like for us it makes sense for us because we can have a heavy workload and we're only going to take an easy elective, maybe just 1 or 2 classes this semester, but then the next semester we're going to go and we're going to take 3 or 4. But the problem is that they're seeing so many people there's only 1 or 2 classes every semester that it's pushing their education back to where they're not graduating on time. They're not getting the financial aid they deserve, or they're taking too much of it from everyone else because they're just taking too many classes that don't pertain to them, and they're just draining the financial aid because, like I said, a 2-year program is now becoming a 5-year program. And I get that, but at the same time, I think the response on a community college level, especially for because if we're going to be stereotypical here, community college is for the people that don't want to go to a UC, maybe because they don't have the money or because they don't have that type of intellect to go and take those courses. When, if we're being honest, community colleges can teach the same, if not better, education than what's being taught there. But as a student, I think that the response should be more to educating us students, about how to choose our classes instead of saying, well, look, here's what you're going to do it. I think there should be more workshops, more training for us to say, look, if it takes you 5 years, this is why it should take you 5 years, but it should be done in 2. And it shouldn't just be, here it is, do it. It should be, well, here's your options, and here's what's going to happen if you don't do those options.
Yeah, I think to the greater picture of education, as far as not so much the guided pathways, but your point there about maybe better preparing students, I think is maybe the right way to go to it. And obviously, high schools need to do a much better job preparing students for college, and we need to get that figured out. But community colleges are supposed to be the not easy. Easy is not the word I'm looking for, but a much more structured and supportive place for students. You go to a lot of the four-year universities, in a way, they basically all kind of operate on the guided pathways. Like there's kind of just a strict set schedule. Community college is usually a way to ease your way into it, to figure it out. Not for everyone. I don't want to generalize. But it is a place where a lot of students are there because they still haven't figured out what they want to do yet. And my fear is that when you kind of force them to jump in at 17, 18 years old, the younger ones especially, and hop right on that track, that's just not realistic. Not in today's society for kids. We tend to be indecisive, millennials tend to be indecisive, tend to change their mind a lot of times along the way. And is it a burden on the financial aid system at times? Absolutely. Is it maybe somewhat problematic that their education gets drawn out a little longer than it should? Absolutely. But I do think that all stems back to what you said about being better educated. Because I know my first time through college, I'm an adult learner now, being 30. I wasn't ready at any level. I didn't understand the financial commitments. I didn't understand the class scheduling. I didn't understand the point of any of it. And there was nothing in place to help me learn that. To just be honest, on a more far extremist view, my personal belief is that kids out of high school should have to go to community college. I think community college should be used as a stepping stone to that next level. Just like we use four-year universities as undergrad to graduate, I really believe community colleges can help kids be ready. Because 17, 18 years old, making a decision to put yourself hundreds of $1,000s in debt and something you really don't even know if you really want to do, that's crazy to me that we live in a society where that's the way we do things. But again, I understand that's a bit extreme, so I'm sure I'll get a lot of comments about that. but better choices, I think helping people learn better choices should really be the path. And who knows, maybe the guided pathways will help a lot along the way, but I like kind of freedom and choices.
I feel like, topic for another day, but I feel like the problems that we're facing now in the community college and even higher level than that college education is stemming from what we're teaching in middle school and high school. Like I said, that's a topic for another time. But at the community college level itself, I think that there needs to be a better job done, at least using here as an example of making it more prepared for students, because a lot of degrees are transfer degrees or just people going to take degrees that are going to go to another college anyway. I think it should be better geared for those type of students to first get introduced and matriculated into the process, and this isn't high school anymore. Like one of the things I loved bringing up to students that I went to one of their high schools was that we don't have the little baby steps that you get. We don't get, like, if someone was like, you get in a fight, what happens? Well, we don't have security guards that put you in like a suspension for a day. We have police officers that arrest you, and I think not a lot of kids, like you said, are able to think of that from high school going into college. But at college level, what I think that needs to be happening even like now is that these department chairs, these professors, and even administration and above need to be thinking about how can we relay our students to first get matriculated into the process at community college and then be better prepared at the next level. One of the examples that personal to me is that for my communications degree, one of the things I have to take, as you know, is journalism. And while that's great to be able to teach everyone a journalistic style, at Cal State's UCs, they don't have to take journalism. I know some colleges require every communication student to take journalism, but that's not a universal thing. Universally, what you look at when you look at communications is you look at communication studies as one, then you look at mass media communications, journalism, and then public relations. And to say that we're going to generalize all communication majors to take one journalism class, I don't think that's smart. I think that goes into what you were saying, is that we're we're taking people and like kind of like putting them in the direction we want to go instead of the direction that they can choose and pick and choose these choices. And of course, guided pathways may be able to help that in the long run, saying that, oh, you want to be this major at the next level, well, let's go to this place. But I think for now, I think the better reason or the better step to go to would be to say, look, we need to have a better job of educating people before they get there to know what they're doing. Because I know all of us that we know, all of our friends, two of us, we've had those things where we didn't know what we were doing when we went to college, and we changed our minds so many times that it cost us money for doing it. But the problem is that we got there without getting any help in high school, in middle school, heck, even let's go to elementary school and say that the teachers there may need to do a better job in the future of making sure that college students are just prepared to be in college, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And like, you know me, I'm very big on the mental side of things. So I would like to see if they're going to do this guided pathways, I don't want to get too much into it because I know we'll talk about it another time. But I think colleges and community colleges can lead the way on that. We need to do a much better job of investing in infrastructure for mental health. Mm-hmm. A lot of the reasons kids struggle and take 5 years is the anxieties and stress that are related to college. And then those go back to what we're taught in middle school and high school. It's kind of a fixed mind state versus a growth mind state, right? Like, you can look at it and say, man, it took you 5 years to graduate college. Dang, you failed. Or you can look at it and say, it took me 5 years, but along those 5 years, I learned a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think that's an issue I see with higher education is that we have such a fixed mindset towards it that everything was straight A's, B's, C's, or F's, degree or no degree, that we forget to value the everything in between that led to your growth and development. Like if you graduate college and the only thing you learned was how to get good grades, you failed. Mm-hmm. But our society tends to view it that way, and we tend to have a fixed mindset of pass or fail that we don't value everything else. And so that's kind of my larger issue with the guided pathways is it takes away that value in having to kind of figure out how to make those choices, having to learn about certain subjects and certain classes, being able to pursue your interests that maybe you don't have to do with your degree, but you want to learn about philosophy or something like that. I just don't like the idea of point A to point B has to be a straight line. If I want to turn around in circles for 5 years, let me. It shouldn't have to be a straight line. So guided pathways in general, I get it. It would help a lot of students. But it also discourages students from being creative and really intellectually challenge themselves to be more than just, in the communications, to be more than just a journalistic style writer. They might want to learn about something else. And I would like to see colleges challenge students more in that sense.
Yeah, I think to kind of like tie things up, I think that the thing that we're both trying to get at here is that no matter what way colleges are going to go, the thing that we need to address is that students have to be given that chance because, as we both know, there's success and failure, and that's a lot of things that's a thing that many administration and colleges don't tend to acknowledge is that you may fail a class 3 times, but it's not because you're not able to do it. Like we know someone that can fail classes many times, but the thing is he has the work ethic. He has the ability to pass that class. It's just, like you said, some people aren't just mentally prepared to keep going sometimes. So I think what needs to happen, tying it all together, is that students have to be given a voice and options. Like maybe not having mass amounts of students vote on certain things, but definitely students need to be taken in consideration at every single community college in this California system to kind of help make these pathways into something that benefits both students and faculty alike. That way, guided pathways doesn't get implemented, say, 5 years from now, and we have a mass outrage of students not being able to have their freedoms anymore, because freedom to fail is also freedom itself. So I think that's the main thing that they need to get at in the future is that failure is a success, and going to take 5 years, as you said, may not mean failure. It may mean that it's just prolonged success. Like they've learned things through those 5 years that they wouldn't have learned in just 2 years of going through the system itself.
Absolutely.
Yep. So I know we'll talk about another topic soon around this,